Welcome everyone to the monthly EVerest CPO Forum. The Technical Steering Committee is like the usual thing I moderate. That is in 3 days from now. Quickly show the antitrust policy. There might be competition here in the room, so please behave. Agenda-wise, mainly we have a status update, quick welcome round here, and then there's a couple of things happening in the next weeks, which are super interesting, where I would like to invite and remind you on. Maybe anyone joining this the first time, so I can have to know if I have to repeat things.
Yeah, this is my first time.
Then let me walk through the introduction. Just as a quick heads up, what is EVerest? Open source project, really big one. It's free of charge. Mutually governed by the Linux Foundation Energy, a non-profit organization, Apache license, so really industry friendly. It orchestrates everything what a charger needs on the firmware side. So basically it lives inside the charger. It speaks all the outward facing protocols to vehicles, to humans, to payment terminals, to CPMS system, to behind the meter or in front of the meter energy management system. We also orchestrate everything inside the charging station. So all the power electronics, metering, and whatsoever, and we orchestrate. Since it's a so big scope, it has to be really flexible depending on what hardware you adjust. So it works from everything from single port home AC charger, public HPC charging parks. You can just configure whatever it should orchestrate from ISO, OCPP, and whatnot. And you can either do it visually or you can do it as a text file. This slide I have to update. I forgot to update that. There's a couple of new companies now popped up which used EVerest. I think the one we made public in the last 4 weeks is SMA, which is one really big German solar inverter company. The circled ones here are from the new ones from the last time. EVerest is one of the biggest open source projects out there in the entire energy space. You see almost 1,000 contributors, a few 100,000 charge points installed with that. We have a structure, how we organize ourselves. Part of that lives on the LF Energy side, the governing board, and so on. Different special interest groups, and we live in the behind the meter in special or edge flexibility interest group. And EVerest itself has the technical steering committee that meets also once a month. It's more on the tech side. And we have different working groups, and from OCPP to car communication, whatever. And we have the CPO Forum. That's where we meet today. So let's skip that slide. So the purpose is that also give the users of EVerest, the current or future users of EVerest, like the ones who buy EVerest-based chargers, a voice in the community, so you can help on road mapping and priorities, like what do you want to see. We can ask folks like you questions on where things are going. We can define KPIs together, and we do that. You also get benefits back for the vendors, and not only for you, that they build towards market demand. This is kind of a good industry practice if you have big open source projects, to also give the end users of the products, even if they're not developing themselves, a voice. We have a quite big web resource. Meanwhile, copy a link address and we'll put it to the chat here. With all the recordings of the last times, with the slides from the last times. Please check it out. And typically we start with a small introduction round, who is in the meeting, and typically we do that. Perfect. Then we can also make a bigger open discussion round at the end, just as a quick update. What happened at EVerest lately? We go back to the slides. I'm sharing, okay. So just last 4 weeks, there was, I think the key highlights, what we realized for the CPO groups is typically what happens on OCPP side. We now have APIs available to better configure things. It's kind of the EVerest framework allows you to send configuration, change things. That's a bit more into the details. I think the next one is probably interesting, that we extended the entire device model from OCP 2.x also to 1.6. So 1.6 and 2.x are now handled internally with the same device model, with the same telemetry metrics, and you can way more seamlessly, without configuration change, switch between those on an Everest runner, on a running Everest. We added some high-level logic for temperature derating, for AC charting especially. We have better shutdown and restart management in Everest. We are currently working heavily on OCP 2.1, especially on bidirectional charging, DER. That's, I think, handled currently by 3-4 vendors who work all on plus Pionix, who all work on getting Everest ready there. I think most of that is quite soon to be landed, so it's close to completion. I think the first bullet here, OCP telemetry integration, what we realized in the framework that you can raise telemetry, but at the moment it's complex, and there's a big architecture session happening on the upcoming hackathon in 2 weeks from now, where the community, I think we have kind of 50 signups already for that, where we discussing this and other topics, but I will come to that in a second. And then some other details, what happened may be relevant for you. Network configuration setup is now reachable via OCPP. We have can make multi-slot network configuration possible. We can always report errors even if they're cleared optionally, so there's a new configuration option for that. We reporting more detailed why certain sessions have been suspended, and so there's more detailed error reporting about the root causes. Also, the connection status details, we're carrying more details. We can do restripe of RFID cards as stop, as optionally. That was before, let's say, custom coding. Now it's part of the core. And on restart, you can also do that more generically. As I said, especially for the new ones here in the room, Everest is installed by, I think, 50 plus vendors on a few 100,000 charging stations. So this is kind of the increment for the last 4 weeks, and most of the work kind of happened over the last year, so it feels more detailed, what you see here. There's a lot of upcoming events. So normally in the middle of this, normally we have more sections in the middle. Normally we have big Q&A, big discussion sections in the middle, but for this week we have nothing detailed prepared here, so I'm a bit sorry about that. But there will be many things happening. Next week is Untitled Chapter conference in Berlin. There's a side event, brunch for the Everest community and the CitridoS community, which is kind of our sibling on the backend side. You can just free sign up there. We'll share the link here in the chat. Put it here in the chat. There is second. This is super slow sometimes. There's a big innovation summit happening. There's a LF Energy conference happening in Berlin as well for Europe. Then there's a couple of Charon festivals and plug fests. I think on all of that, there's Everest presence, and I think there's even more around VDCom some weeks later. But let me walk through the details. The face-to-face meeting in Berlin next week. Space for 150 people, free breakfast. It's worth it. We have the EV Charging Innovation Summit in 7th to 8th of September. You see here quite a few stickers. What you will have there is that CTOs and chief architects of those companies telling about their technical journeys, about the issues. So it's really made for leaders on the tech space of EV charging on the software side to exchange. We got EVerest signed up to be a speaker of that kind of 4 weeks ago, and in the same format as here today, we got SMA signed up. There's, I think, 2 lightning talk slots still available. So if you're interested to exchange with other leaders from the tech space, either hardware side or backend side, please join us, either as a visitor or maybe even as a speaker. Next to the conference, we also have a hackathon in the days after. The hackathon is, I think, also, I think meanwhile it's more than 50 signups. It's on the one hand, you can bring your own topic, code your own things, whatever you're interested. If you're EV charging vendor, you can even bring your non-Everest charger, and we together try to Everestify it. The 2-day hackathon. Let's see where this goes. But there's also a lot of architecture discussion and things to align on the project. Not only Everest in the room, but quite a bit. I'm also here. Feel free to be invited. It's totally free of charge. Pionex will sponsor the room and sponsor quite some pizzas. Yeah, so that will be interesting. The next CPO forum is in 4 weeks from now. Also here, sign up. And I think the typical last slide of the day, and that's back to the drawing board, is what topics would you like to discuss? We have one backlog topic. This is about DER integration, how to do it from an Everest perspective. And this is currently happening. The problem is all the relevant engineers are on leave this week or on vacation this week. So it's super hard to bring this in today's slot, but we will have it in 4 weeks from now. And if you have any other big topics you would love to discuss, either raise the points now or put it on the whiteboard, especially also if you're interested for speaking at the event or joining, let me know. And this is, this is basically the 10 minutes introduction into Everest and the CPO forum.